whenever I go in the Korean store, I like to speak the little Korean I can, and then try to get the hell out of the store before they try to talk to me anymore. I just like to show off the little bit I know. Okay, bye. Don't. I can't maintain a conversation. I was watching. Oh, we're gonna go to the beach today for a change. Yeah. I was watching an interview with the singer from a band called the Viagra Boys, who I've been really into lately. I think they're from Sweden, if I'm not wrong. And in the interview, he was talking about how he had found some woman online, some crazy woman, as he describes her, talking about how she speaks to angels and demons. And it made me think about how I was talking about it yesterday. And if you don't, well, not if you don't, I'm just getting the articulation machine rolling here. It sounds crazy. Like if you don't, before I got involved with any of this stuff, and I was an atheist, you know, for years. I wasn't like a aggressively so. I was just like, I wasn't really interested in it at all. Church creeped me out as a kid, and my parents never made me really get involved with it past the rudimentary things that you do as a child. Maybe I did a little bit of Bible school and stuff like that, but I wasn't really interested. I was always creeped out by it, and they just never made me go, which is great, you know. And it's funny because I went through a period where I was like, oh shit, I wish I'd gone to and learned more. I don't know anything about the Bible. And now I've come full circle again, going, oh, I'm glad I didn't fill my head with this stuff. But yeah, I mean, even I guess 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, I would think the same thing. Like whenever anyone would bring up talking to angels or meeting demons or something, oh, here we go, you know. And it used to make me wonder, like, why do all quote-unquote crazy people always kind of talk about this stuff? Or dude, everybody's retarded here. I don't know if I mentioned that. Why is like a supermodel? It's beautiful, but retarded. So, yeah, I was always like, why do mentally unhinged people tend to talk about angels or demons or their God, or it's always something heavy and religious. But the thing is, it's not the way it's described. It's not the way, how do I put this? It's like I was saying the other day about when people hear the term God or they hear someone talking about God. For the most part, for a lot of people in the Western world, they conjure up an image of a bearded man in sandals passing judgment upon your friends and family, and maybe he'll let you into heaven, but they cheated on their taxes and did some other bad stuff, so they're going to hell. And you're supposed to be happy in heaven while they burn in hell. Like I had all those same arguments that you hear over and over and over again. But it's not anything like I imagined it would be. Even though I'm really new, relatively, into understanding how things work, it's that we don't have words to comprehend some of this stuff. And that's by design, as I said before. Our language, for the most part, has been given to us. And that's a whole other thing to get into someday, which is really interesting, about the different languages of the world and how you can go to parts of Europe and you go over a bridge and everybody speaks a completely different language, or Canada or wherever. You know, sometimes that extreme. But yeah, he's the Viagra Boy singer. Was like, yeah, you know, he runs down this list of things she was talking about, and it's pretty much everything I've talked about here on this channel. But prior to having the experiences I had that put me on this path, I'd be the same way. I've noticed that even when I spent some time in a hospital, in a mental hospital in 2008, because I had what they referred to as a total nervous breakdown. You know, whatever, that's a whole nother story. But I noticed when I got in there and started talking to some of the other people in there, some of the other patients in there, they all had kind of the same concerns about what would be considered conspiratorial topics. The first day I went in, there was a woman in a room up near intake, or, you know, new patient coming in, and she was in her room screaming about Sirhan, Sirhan. I thought that was really strange. You know, I'm like, wow, that's weird. And I noticed that among everyone in there, once we started talking, we were all kind of on the same page with stuff. It was mysterious to me at the time. I'm like, well, I guess I'm crazy, so these people, this is just crazy stuff we crazy people talk about. Back then, I had complete faith in the medical system and the therapeutic, whatever you call it, the articulation machine's still warming up. I just kind of felt at the time, I'm like, well, these guys went to school for this shit. They know what they're doing, not knowing that they don't. And that it's all black magic, basically, you know? And there I go, and there you go again with those words. The concepts that I talk about and other people mention in these kind of spaces, and the demons and the angels, things like that, the terminology that you have to use in lieu of having anything else that's close to describing what's going on it would be ridiculed because it sounds crazy, right? Basically, without getting too into psychiatry, and I will at some point, they're basically gatekeepers. They don't know this, and I think they really think they're helping people. I don't think there's a medical person or a school teacher even, or anyone that gets into their field thinking they're going to hurt someone or they're doing harm to anyone. In fact, you know, these are noble professions, and they think they're helping people, so they don't know they're gatekeepers, but that's exactly what's happening. And if you go off script, and by go off script, talk about some of the things that would be considered conspiratorial or something like I was describing there, like if you start talking about how you talk to angels or something, that's off script. But it doesn't even have to be that extreme. They want to keep you within, for a lack of a better term, the matrix, right? So if you start talking about things outside of maybe going to school or your job or the normal things that people are supposed to talk about, whatever it is, then you could be pegged as being mentally ill. That's kind of exactly what happened to me. I had been, I don't know I don't know what the exact thing was, but I'd been extremely paranoid. What happened was I had spent 10 years prior to when I had my breakdown in singing in a band, a rock band, for a long time. And along with that came tons of drugs and alcohol. Because, oh, thanks, man. Oh, thank you. No, I've fallen for that before. This thing, what they do is over here, they drag you into the fucking place. I've done it before, actually, while I was doing a video. A guy will come out and hand you something, and then they try to hold you there. And then, I'm a nice guy, so I get sucked right into it because I can't tell people to fuck off when I really should. So you kind of have to, some people you got to just get crazy with so that they'll leave you alone. But I have a hard time getting crazy sometimes. So anyway, how you doing? Yeah, very aggressive out here. But what the fuck was I talking about now? I know what I was talking about, but I don't know what it was. God, I hate that guy. I don't know him, but I hate him for throwing me off my fucking game. Yeah, is this Biore? Oh no, this is the same thing. What they do is they force something into your hand, and now you owe them your time. And if you're a person like myself who just is easygoing and wants to be left alone, I become prey for those kind of things. Oh, just let me cook. So last time I was over there, guy keeps handing me stuff. I end up in a fucking chair getting Botox done on me with cream, with the whole idea that I'm gonna then buy the stuff from them. It's obnoxious. Well, the reason I don't come down here is, I mean, not because of that, but it's a different vibe here. Whereas where I'm usually walking and doing these, people kind of leave you alone. Here, it's a whole different vibe. But anyway, I'd spent years doing gigs, and with this band I was in for a long time, doing drugs, and because I was a very introverted guy, and because of that I had trouble becoming the sort of stage performer I needed to become. I was a singer as a frontman, and I was just a total introvert. So I'd break that up by having a couple drinks, you know. Well, a couple drinks turned into, you know, a bottle of this, a bottle of that, a lot of cocaine, a lot of anything else that came across across my transom. So I was riding it pretty hard for a long time. My first run with that band was 2001 to 2007. So like 7 years of that stuff, I was doing that. And it got to the point where, you know, I started going, having crazy medical problems. Like I remember going to my doctor after it was New Year's Eve. I was at a friend's house who had just gotten she's a trans woman who had just got the operation, the post-op. And I was over her house watching videos of her doing her Madonna act at a nightclub, drinking wine and doing lines. Not her, she was on medication from the operation. But I got really fucked up, and that night driving home I felt really strange. And then the next day I woke up and I couldn't feel like the left side of my body, which was kind of fucking shocking. So I'm like, wow, that's not good. So I went to the doctor, and basically I was told that I needed to give everything a break. If I stayed doing what I was doing, I was going to die. You know, who knows? I think that's just what they tell you. So the doctor's like, look, here's what to do. Just this weekend, stay inside. Because even if we weren't doing gigs that week, which for a certain period was not often, things slowed down around 2006 or 2007. So I was still going out though to go to other shows and just social things and seeing people, and that always end up getting crazy. So the doctor said just usually go out on the weekends instead of going out, just stay in. So I figured out a way to do that, and I stayed in. And then a couple weeks of that went by, I started feeling better. And I just quit everything all at once. I stopped drinking, stopped smoking cigarettes, stopped doing cocaine, stopped doing any kind of drug. I just went from 60 to 0 in 1 second, you know. And because of that, I think that's what caused my meltdown. Whatever happens there, I probably should have. I don't know what really caused it, but it wasn't like a dramatic thing where I went into the fetal position in Target or something. I just was talking to one of my sisters on the phone, and I guess I was saying some really bizarre stuff. Not violent or it just like I wasn't making any sense. And she had the idea to take me for a psych eval. So the next day I went down and had a psych eval and talked to the doctor, and she was like, hey, you know, I think it might be a good idea for you to come in and have some tests done. And she basically went to my sister and said, hey, you know, keep him here, don't let him leave. And within the hour, I was strapped on a bed, help me, what are those goddamn things? Stretcher, loaded into a ambulance and off to the hospital. So I must have impressed her. When I got there and they diagnosed me with what I was diagnosed with and did a lot of tests and stuff, they determined that I had a breakdown, not sure when, but I forget how they worded it, but it sounded pretty intense. Like, it wasn't a catastrophic nervous breakdown, but it was something like that kind of wording. And I attribute it to the going from 60 to 0 thing with all the substances, but I don't know what it was. I think, well, what I mean by that is I think that I always had those problems, certainly. In fact, I think they probably started in adolescence. They're being masked with the drugs and alcohol. And also I had developed a way to deal with some of the symptoms that come along with some of these illnesses by that time. And then that coupled with the drug use and the drinking, I think, covered up or made it so that I didn't have to use any of those mechanisms that I had used for so long to keep these symptoms in check. So when I when I stopped drinking and got sober and stopped doing drugs and stuff, I didn't have the tools any longer. I'd forgotten the tools, or they'd been submerged somehow. And I think that's what led to my breakdown. But yeah, I'm gonna take a break here because I want to have a cigarette. And I don't really like walking around so much during the day. It seems to feel hot out here. But yeah, that's when I got into the nut hut, as I refer to it affectionately, we were all kind of the same, talking about the same things. And it didn't ring any bells in my mind at the time. It's only now in hindsight that I look back, I'm like, oh, we were all off script. And the doctor's jobs are to get you back on script by putting you on a script. See, words mean things, and a lot of times they hide the hidden truths of what's happening in life and around you. So that the script gets you back on script. And their method is to just throw various medications at you that basically just make you tired and lethargic. So if you're sleeping all the time and you're slow in the mind, you're not causing trouble. Like you're not acting out, you're not causing problems for people because you're sleeping and you're quiet, and they'll just throw any combination of stuff at you until you slow down enough to be considered successfully treated. It's pretty crazy. But it's not to make you better or to heal you. I mean, I think the doctors believe they're doing that. I don't think they're like, you know, purposely like, oh, we're going to ruin this person's life. I think they're trying to do the right thing, but they're slaves to that piece of paper that hangs up in their office that they had to pay all that money for, maybe still owe student loans on. And if they lose that piece of paper, they lose the ability to generate money to pay back that loan or to feed their family or whatever. So at that point, you're like a super slave. That's what like all these degrees and all these, you know, papers you get. It just makes you more of a slave. You know, it's like you've graduated into a situation where now you have to do a lot more of what they say, and you have to be very strict about what you do. You have less freedom to work in your chosen field by getting that piece of paper. But by the same token, you need that piece of paper or else you're not considered a professional. It's really insidious, the whole thing. But yeah, I'm going to head out right now. Thanks for spending a couple minutes with me. Okay, bye. Bye, like I'm hanging up on the phone. Bye.